It was raining the night Emily's world ended. The doctors had just told her father, billionaire businessman Richard Hayes, that his only daughter had her heart, damaged from a rare infection, was failing fast. Without a donor, she wouldn't make it to Monday. Outside the hospital window, the city lights blurred through the rain, as if even the world was crying for her. Emily, just 19, had lived a life wrapped in luxury, private jets, designer clothes, million-dollar smiles. But now, none of it mattered. All the money in the world couldn't buy her more time. Meanwhile, a few blocks away, under the same storm, was digging through a trash bin behind a restaurant. Homeless for almost 2 years, he'd learned to survive off scraps and kind strangers. But that night, soaked and shivering, he found something different, buried in the mud. It belonged to Richard Hayes. Inside was $500 in cash, a black credit card, and a small photo of a girl smiling with golden hair and ocean blue eyes, Emily. For a second, Liam thought about keeping it. He could buy food, maybe rent a small room for a few nights. But something in that photo stopped him. Maybe it was her smile, or the fact that she looked happy. Something he hadn't felt in a long time. He trudged back through the rain to the hospital address printed on a medical receipt inside the wallet. When he reached the front desk, dripping and trembling, security almost pushed him out, but Richard saw him. "You dropped this," Liam said softly, holding out the wallet. The billionaire stared at him in disbelief. Then he noticed the boy's soaked clothes, his thin frame, the dirt on his face. "Thank you, son," he said, taking out some cash. "Here, take this." But Liam shook his head. "I don't want your money, sir. Just hope she gets better." Richard smiled weakly. "So do I." He didn't know that those words would soon mean everything. The next morning, Liam woke up on the park bench he called home. He heard people talking near the newsstand, something about the Hayes girl. She needed but no donor had matched. Liam froze. Something tugged inside him. He didn't know why he cared so much for a stranger. Maybe because he'd lost his little sister years ago, also to an illness they couldn't afford to treat. Maybe because that girl in the photo had the smile his sister once had. He walked back to the hospital, asking the nurse if he could see her. She smiled sadly. "Only family is allowed, sweetheart. Please," he whispered. "Tell her I brought back her father's wallet yesterday. My name's Liam." She hesitated but promised to tell her. Hours later, lying in her hospital bed, Emily asked to meet him. When Liam entered her room, her pale face lit up. "You found my dad's wallet," he nodded. "Thank you," she said weakly. "No one's done something kind for me in a long time without wanting something back." Liam smiled shyly. "Wes, kindness is all I've got." They talked for hours, about street life, stars, dreams, and the strange beauty of life itself. For a moment, they forgot the ticking clock. But time didn't forget them. That night, Emily's condition worsened. Machines screamed. Doctors rushed in. Richard stood helplessly as they fought to keep her alive. But the truth was brutal. She wouldn't make it till morning without a new heart. Somewhere in the hospital's waiting area, Liam sat, clutching a chocolate bar someone had given him. He saw the chaos. He overheard the doctor say, "There are no matches. We've checked everyone." And then, like fate whispering in his ear, Liam remembered when the nurse had taken his name earlier. She'd asked his blood type. It matched Emily's. Without thinking, he ran to the doctor. "Test me," he shouted. "Please, test me." The doctor looked confused. "Son, do you understand what that means?"
"Yes,"
he said quietly. "I understand." Hours later, when Richard was told that a perfect donor had been found, he fell to his knees in gratitude. He didn't ask who, it didn't matter. His daughter had a chance. The surgery began before sunrise. When Emily woke up days later, she felt strange, stronger. The first thing she saw was her father's face covered in tears. "You made it, baby. You're going to be okay." But Emily noticed something else. An empty hospital bed near the window, a single folded note placed on the table beside her. Her trembling hands opened it. It read, "Dear Emily, I don't have much in this world. No house, no family, no future. But I had one thing left to give, and I wanted it to mean something. You once said kindness was all I had. Maybe now it'll help you live the life I never could. Don't waste a single second. Smile for me sometimes, Liam." Emily's tears soaked the note. Her father's knees gave out as he read over her shoulder. The world had told Liam he was worthless, but he proved that sometimes the ones with the least to give the most. The Hayes Foundation opened a children's hospital wing. named the Liam Heart Center. Every wall was painted with bright stars and messages of hope, and every night Emily came to visit, sitting by the window, looking at the sky. She liked to believe that somewhere beyond those stars, a boy with a shy smile was still watching over her. And every time she felt her heart beating, she whispered, "Thank you, Liam, for giving me life and teaching me how to live." 1 year after the surgery, the city had changed for the Hayes family. But more than that, they had changed. Emily no longer spent her days at charity galas or high-end parties. Instead, she was often found in the children's ward of the Liam Heart Center, reading to sick kids, drawing cartoons on whiteboards, or simply sitting beside parents who needed hope. Sometimes, people didn't even recognize her. The millionaire's daughter who'd once made headlines around the world for surviving the impossible. She no longer wore designer dresses. She wore jeans, sneakers, and a silver bracelet engraved with one word: hope. Her father, Richard Hayes, too had changed. The man who once measured his life in business deals and bank balances now spent his days quietly funding shelters, schools, and hospitals in Liam's name. He said it helped him breathe again, helped him make sense of what he'd lost and gained. One rainy evening, almost exactly a year to the day Liam gave her his heart, Emily sat by the same hospital window she'd once looked through while waiting to die. The city lights shimmered just as they had that night. But this time, she wasn't afraid. She closed her eyes and whispered softly, "Hey Liam, you remember this view?" The thunder rumbled softly, like an answer. Her mind drifted back to the boy she'd only met twice, the street kid who smiled through hunger, who gave back a wallet he could have kept, who gave her a reason to leave. She thought of how unfair life had been to him, yet how he'd faced it with more grace than most people ever could. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time, they weren't of sadness, they were gratitude.